Our guest is the new offensive coordinator here at Syracuse, Rob Spence. Coach, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Come from Clemson, so you're set with the ties.
Got the color squared away.
Very good. Tell us about where you've been and how you feel you fit in here as a guy that's had connections up and down the East Coast.
Well, I started my career on the East Coast and more explicitly in Pelham, New York, a small little place outside of New York City. Started there as a high school coach and then pretty much worked my way into the college ranks, starting at small schools like Iona College and Hofstra University out in Long Island, and then finally University of Maryland, and from there back to Hofstra, and then eventually found my way to Louisiana Tech. And then, as a coach, you start to move where there are opportunities, where they existed, and I had an opportunity to coach in the Midwest at Toledo, and then Coach Bowden called me to come down to Clemson, South Carolina.
And you've been very successful here in your recent run at Clemson, and the top scoring offense in the ACC your last 2 full years there, and the 2 best offensive seasons Clemson football's ever known, and we know that to be a power program and a national championship winner. How were you able to get it done there, and what marked maybe your philosophy or your accomplishments there?
I think we've always built the offense based on what talent exists first, and then move towards a vision of the offense that you have for that particular program. Every program's a little bit different. Every group of players is a little bit different. It's always been an offense built on its multiplicity, built on its ability to attack by throwing the football and running the football. It's been an offense that's been dynamic in many regards. But it's built on, first and foremost, whenever you arrive at a university or college, you first evaluate the talent that exists, and then tailor it to the talent and the ability of the players that you have. And that's a work in progress. Your first year when you take over a program is to be very careful to evaluate what exists already.
What do you know about the talent and personnel here, and how do you go about that process of evaluating that in the next few weeks and months?
Well, I think the process of evaluating the talent is trying to take a good look at what's been done here. Take a look at the last 2 years and watch and observe the players in game conditions. Get to know the players. I think that's a really, really important component of the evaluation prospect. Don't just evaluate what you see on film, but get to know the players and their personalities, understand the buttons that need to be pushed to motivate, and develop that which exists here. I think that's a really, really important part of coaching, is to develop the talent that exists here, and the mark of a good coach is to take players and get them to their God-given best.
The players that have been here a while, if they've been here 2-3 years, if you're talking about sophomores or juniors, have been under a couple of different offensive coordinators already and have thought about the West Coast style. They've thought about the downhill running game, the play-action game of Mitch Browning. How much does that maybe even help you as a jumping-off point for what you want to do, that they've had different sort of concepts and should be able to adjust to whatever's next?
Well, again, Doug's probably mentioned this already. Doug and I have a great affiliation, that goes back to 1992, and we've studied football together. I've researched the offenses that he's been a part of. He's looked and studied some of the things that we've done at the different stops I've had, and we're gonna start with what we have here. And again, I think that's important to understand. I wouldn't put a label on what we're going to do. It's going to be multiple. It's going to be fun. It's going to be built on a premise that we're going to attack people, and it's going to be aggressive, and it's going to be something that the players enjoy. And hopefully people will enjoy watching here.
It's an open book. Coach Marrone has everybody so excited. We're excited to have him on board and for what's next. What about you? If you've known him for a while, and I'm sure you're proud that he's a head coach now, and how did this come together that you're here now?
Well, I'm really proud of Doug Marrone. He's done a great job at all his stops. He's passionate about the game of football. He's passionate about the players that he coaches. He's one of those guys in our business that has literally worked his way up from the lowest of ranks, and that's when you know that somebody's really a quality coach, when he's able to coach at all the different levels and be successful at the different levels and coach the pro athlete as well as the collegiate athlete. That's a mark and sign of success. I'm excited because I got a chance to meet Doug in 1992. I met him at his high school when I was recruiting a player by the name of Brian Underwood, and Brian was a New York State Player of the Year, I believe, and Doug started to help me right then and there recruit, and I could just tell the first time I met him that this guy's a natural in the game of recruiting. I mean, he's got a vibrant personality. He's extremely sharp. He's an excellent problem solver, and there's an energy about him. And if you've met him, you see that immediately.
Sure. Now, you're growing up in Pelham, and what does Syracuse football mean to you, Eastern football, and maybe a good spot to end it, you and what you think of the program is and can be?
Well, probably the answer to that is best told in a story. When I was finishing my college career, I remember going into my stepdad's room and office, and there was a bunch of boxes with Syracuse memorabilia. His brother, Alan Spillett, played here in 1958, 59, 60, 61. And in these boxes were contained like old Syracuse varsity jackets, playbooks from that era, scouting reports from that era, an Orange Bowl watch. And I was sitting there and I was looking at this, and to me, Syracuse was a mecca of football growing up. This was synonymous with any place in the country that you wanted to talk about greatness in football. To me, this was a thrill, you know. And I never ever at that point envisioned that someday I'd be sitting here in this chair thinking that I would represent this great university with such a great tradition of football. It's a really exciting moment in my life, and it's kind of eerie to reflect back to those days when I would get those playbooks out and I'd study them and I'd look at them, and I felt like, you know, I was going back in history with my family. And also I have a lot of family right here in Salve, New York, which is obviously just miles away, and you know, so it's really thrilling to our family, and it's obviously a thrill for me.
Great, Coach. We're excited to have you, and you can go from reading those playbooks to writing them now.
It's about time to do that again, yes.
Thanks for being with us, and best of luck. We'll catch up with you soon.
Indeed.